In 3, 2, 1. Shut up. PSA for you. And this actually comes from the beautiful mind of Jay. If you don't have an electric toothbrush right now, if you're still going manual as opposed to automatic, what are you doing? Straight from his mouth. I could not agree more. What I mean by that is that it's time right now for the Disney Pod Classics. My name is Harrison. With me, as always, the lovely Jay. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Every dentist recommends it. But anyway, very excited for this movie. We're going into the forest, Harrison. What are we doing there?
We've got a tough one, Jay. We've got a really tough one. We're doing Bambi. Here at the Disney Pod Classics, Jay and I grew up watching all the Disney animated films, or as many as we could get our hands on VHS, as you can see in the back. And then we went on in college to be roommates and spent, countless hours late night talking Disney, talking top fives, debating villains, and so on and so forth. And now here we are, 29 years old, and we really feel like it's time to take a look back. The world is in a weird spot. It makes you question, like, who am I? Where did I come from? And that's what we're going to find out. So we're going through each one of these movies, one by one, chronologically. And it's brought us here to 1942, where this heartbreaking film, Bambi, was dropped on the world by old Dub D. I probably can guess, Jay, but tell me what this movie was like for you as a young boy.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to what Dumbo was like last week doing that podcast.
That was a tough one.
I enjoyed it as a kid, always respected it, but respected it a little too much because of how sad really just that one scene is. And so, I did not revisit it that often. I imagine similar story for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, could you say definitively or superlatively that this is the saddest Disney movie on record? Like, is that at least the view in the mind of the public? Because I don't think you talk to anyone who doesn't think of the mom dying immediately when you bring up Bambi.
I feel strongly about this. I don't think it's the saddest Disney movie, especially rewatching it. I think Dumbo is more sad than Bambi.
Actually, hot take by Jay. Yeah,
we're not even getting in. We're sticking with the 5 movies that we've done, and I'm not even sure if it's through
not
that,
even
let
the
alone
saddest one in the 40s, dude.
Exactly, yeah.
Let alone the most ever.
Exactly, it's not even the saddest one during World War II.
Wouldn't you agree that people think pretty much solely of the mom dying in Bambi?
Yeah, it's probably the most iconic, that and Mufasa.
Which is so interesting. But for me as a kid, I watched it, but I was reluctant. It was crushing. This was a tough movie. I remember crying last week, but also crying when I was a kid to Bambi. So
I can't believe Jay makes me do this.
Watching me just bawl my eyes out watching it as a man. Did you like it this time? That's an interesting question.
I like this movie a lot more as an adult than a kid, and I watched it a few years ago as well, and it really changed the way Bambi sits in my Disney mind. Like, I think it's much better than I ever thought it was, and I would strongly recommend, if you haven't seen it in a while, to go back, because I think there's a lot more to it than just Bambi's mom dies and it's really sad. And there's some really great scenes, and it's not as depressing as
you remember
it is in my mind. Yeah,
that's interesting. We might have a little bit of a disagreement on this one, which is healthy. We can get through it. But I personally, this time around, did not like it as much as I was hoping I would. I definitely feel differently watching it about the actual character Bambi, which we'll discuss coming up now. But I almost felt like the movie was boring. Like, it just didn't keep me as much as I would have hoped, and found myself feeling like it was almost a task to get some of these scenes through. What do you know about this movie? 1942, what is this, the fourth? Is this the fourth one we've done?
The fifth. Which actually, part of the reason, and it sounds like you didn't really like Bambi that much, but of the first 5, which one is your favorite at this point?
Oh boy.
of Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia,
How do
Dumbo,
you
and
how do you
Bambi.
top Fantasia? Am I right? I think Dumbo. Dumbo surprised me, man. Go
Okay.
back and listen to Dumbo if you haven't already. But that's a great movie that I just did not see coming, and I liked it a lot more than I thought. This one was just kind of stale for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
almost flip-flopped in that
it
sense.
did,
This
yeah.
is my definitely my favorite one of the
Hmm.
first five. So, the voice of Bambi, Don
Donnie Dunnigan,
Dunnigan, double D's.
double D's, dude.
He went on to be the Marine Corps, the youngest drill sergeant ever, was a complete badass, was shot multiple times,
In
never
Vietnam,
told,
right?
correct,
Yeah.
never told anyone, including his wife, that he was the voice of Bambi, and it was found out, like, pulling teeth. Shout out to the dentist. We're sponsored by them
Yeah,
this
sponsored by
episode.
dentists. Nice
Dentist
one.
worldwide.
Yeah.
Similar to
Dentists like,
Prestige,
yes.
but a
Perfect,
little
dude.
bit different. And anyway, so he
Like
just like
teeth
was a
worldwide.
complete badass, and then just on the side was the voice of Bambi. Didn't really think it was that big of a deal until like his kids and eventually grandkids found out about this. But yeah, I just thought it was funny, like a typical drill sergeant not understanding how big of a role he played
Played in the history of our
in the
lives. Yeah.
Disney world.
Yeah, it's crazy. I read about that where he was the youngest, like you said, wounded 3 times in Vietnam. Never told anybody in his company because he thought that it would, take away from his authority. And then they found in his top secret folder that he was the one. Like a week before he was retiring, they were like, "Okay, Major Bambi," and he was like, "Oh." And apparently, the wife was like cleaning out their attic or something and found a box of movies that he had done and was like, "You're the voice of Bambi?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." I guess now he loves it and like people talk to him, try to have him do the voice and stuff. But I mean, to imagine being the star of a Disney film like this and to live long enough to see how big of a deal it became and to never
Yeah,
once be like, "Dude, that was me." This is a
yeah.
different breed, this man, Donnie D.
You
What
think you
a
just
boss.
wake up in like hot sweats in the middle of the night with little
It's
April
on fire.
showers on his
Feleen!
head?
Yeah. Who's Feleen, sweetheart? Oh, no one.
Yeah, don't worry about it, babe.
Yeah, here, go back to sleep.
Well, and then the other piece, certainly the hunting world did not like Bambi at all.
It's not good
Good
for
context
hunters.
to have there. And in December of 2018, a
Oh,
Missourian poacher was sentenced to 1 year in prison for illegally killing deers for trophies. And as part of his penalty, he was required to watch this movie once a month.
which I think is one of the funniest things I can imagine. Like, if you're a guy who's hunting and like you've just gone out and killed deer, even when you're not supposed to, like you're past the point of we'll do it in season. You think watching Bambi is gonna like rehabilitate you? Or it's like, "You're making me watch Bambi again?" They're like, "Yeah, you need to see this ruined us all as a child.
Once a
Look at
month.
what you've doing once a month, dude." That is so fun. Do you think it would have worked?
I I would find it hard that it wouldn't have some
Some
influence. Like
impact, yeah.
if they've never seen the movie before.
Yeah, I
But if
guess.
of course if they've seen it and they're still hunting, then it has no impact. So I think the first question would be, have you seen
Yeah,
Bambi?
yeah, that's a
Or,
good point. The
uh,
judge just asks
it's like,
them
oh
that.
yeah, huge Disney fan. It's like, all
You
right, let's pick a
you
different
hunted.
movie.
Have you seen Bambi?
Have you seen it?
The one thing that I saw that just broke my heart is the author. So this is based on a book. I think we've talked about this before, but the author of this book sold the rights of it for $1,000 to the person who went on and made it with Disney. And I just think about that poor man. Felix Sultan was his name. Not to blast him or anything, but just so go look
This
him up and tell him,
idiot.
yeah, this fool, dude. Dude, $1,000 for Bambi's still being sold all the time. Like they're using Bambi for Disney Plus sale. I mean, you could
Yeah,
how much money that guy could have made potentially. Oh my gosh,
I
$1,000.
know.
He
I
has
know.
to
It
live
would
with the
be
regret, man.
Yeah, it would be really scary to have something like that happen. And of course, it's like huge potential. Most people don't even get that opportunity, but
Yeah, it's
it
true.
would be
I mean,
tough
I'm
to
saying his
move
name
on.
right now, so there's that. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's got to be so many moments in your life where you're looking at things and being like, well, that Bambi money would have really fixed this car payment for me, wouldn't it have? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
$1,000 didn't even get me half of it. That's fine.
Well,
Fine.
Can you imagine though? There's so many stories and novels in that sense that
Yeah, that's
don't get
true.
picked up by one of these big companies that
That's
like
true.
it's like yes, I did make Bambi, but God, Walt took it and made it into this
Yeah.
masterpiece. Like
I
there
guess
could
he
have been
couldn't have
some of
done it
that as
himself.
well.
That's true. That's true. And there's probably some pride. I mean, like he's an artist, so who knows? I thought, speaking of artists, I found a thing about where there's a quote in the movie says, "Man was in the forest," and the animators apparently used to say that when Walt was in the hallway, so that everyone would like stop what they were doing and like get straighten up and stuff like that,
They'll
which I
do
think
the
is really
Bambi,
funny.
the
Yeah.
deer look.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Box office wise, it was during World War II. They basically just tried to plow through and continue making Disney movies. And of course, Europe wasn't able to go to the theaters in 1942.
Why,
So,
Jay? Why not?
yeah, exactly. And that'll be a different podcast. But they
Fan base.
it was not as successful. It was re-released multiple times and became successful, but because of the lack of success internationally, and even domestically as well, they stopped making like full-length feature films until Cinderella in 1950. So they pretty much did a 8-year hiatus and
Yeah.
started making short films after this.
A hibernation, one could call it.
Ooh, well done.
Thanks. It's not a long movie. I think it's like an hour and 12 minutes with all the credits. If you watch it on, Disney Plus, it's really hard to look at the credits because it doesn't even do the English ones. I was looking for my song and it just shows you like the Danish one, the Portuguese one, the Swedish one. And I literally could not find the actual credits, but that's probably accounts for about 5 minutes of it. So really short movie. What do you say we get into it, Jay?
Let's do it.
Okay. So Bambi opens up. We look on the forest. We see all the animals rushing to celebrate the birth of the new prince, Bambi. He meets his friends Thumper and Flower, and we just watch him become a deer for most of the first chapter. His mom's kind of showing him the ropes. Thumper's helping out every now and then. Takes him to the meadow where he meets a complete babe, Feleen, and sees his father, the also prince, but the great prince of the forest. Man is in the forest at that point, or Walt's in the hallway, we could say.
Nice one.
And the great prince silently tells everybody, and they all run, and shots are fired, but no one gets hit. A little foreshadowing for you, no spoilers. But that's kind of where it ends. No one gets hit. They escape, but you learn that there's danger out there. It's not. This isn't the thicket anymore. Bambi.
2 in a row.
So here's my question to you. At this stage of the movie, how do you feel about Bambi? Because I was surprised at my own reaction to him.
Mm.
How do you feel with just this chapter? Where do you feel you're sitting with Bambi?
Yeah, so one of your questions in the Dumbo podcast was which
Nice callback.
is Dumbo the
Bambi,
cutest?
dude.
That Dambi. It sounds like a brand.
Sounds like dryer sheets or something. Make sure and wash with Bambi dryer sheets.
So Dumbo, if Dumbo was the cutest Disney character of all time, I thought Bambi, and actually personality-wise, as Bambi as a young deer, I actually wasn't as impressed as normal. And I think
thought the exact same thing.
how, with what you shared about that you don't really like it, you found some parts, it dragged a little bit too long. I remember this movie until I watch it each time. I remember the opening first chapter up until Bambi's mom dying.
Dude, that is weird that you say that.
And I
That's
don't
exactly
remember
where I feel.
anything else. And every time it's like, yeah, how does this movie end?
It's so true. I actually think statistically, if ever someday I can find out my life stats, I think I've probably watched the part up until the mom dies double the amount of times I've actually watched this full film. in my lifetime. There's something about it where mentally my block is there, and I think I actually would have cowered away from this movie once, right before the mom was about to die.
Yep.
As a child. But I felt that during the beginning, the first chapter, I just found myself to be a little annoyed with Bambi. I also felt that he was in contention for the cutest character in Disney history, and I looked at him and I said, yeah, he is adorable. He really is, but his legs are a bit too long is the only thing.
That's a deer. Well,
Yeah,
what
but
do you
I
expect?
just think you need to be like smaller altogether.
Hmm.
I did feel like the way his attitude, there's nothing wrong with him, but it just made me feel like I'm glad I don't have kids right now. Like that's just what I
Hmm.
felt a lot of the time. It's like mother, and I was like, like he can't do anything. I'm the worst, but like that's how I felt, and I was just like he kind of annoyed me at this
Hmm.
stage of the movie. You feel differently at the ending credits, but
Hmm.
any truth to that, or you not with me on there?
Not to the same level, but I understand the pathway that you walked.
Thank you. There's a scene in the very beginning. It's all, it feels very like Fantasia-y, I
Very
realized,
much so.
especially
It's
after watching
watercolor
Fantasia.
painting is
Yeah,
why. It's like very like art focused.
yeah, there's a lot of like watercolor. I thought I saw that there was like oil paintings for the originals.
Yep.
Um, but there's a scene where the mouse takes a little droplet of water off of a leaf and does that. And I just want you to know I still think of that scene, visualize it all these years later. Whenever I wash my face, I think of that. Like,
Wow.
I mean, like it's stuck with me. He holds a droplet and just,
Yeah.
and I think that like that's what I see myself as when I do that still. So
Wow, that's beautiful. I love those little random
twisted,
Disney
man.
memories.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
I
Really
mean,
good.
yeah, it means you're a psycho, but
Yeah.
I love to hear
Sick
about it.
thoughts,
It's
dude.
great.
Sick
Yeah.
thoughts. April Showers is one of the only songs in this movie that I can remember.
Yep.
Is that a positive song? Is that one that's on your playlists?
Yeah, it actually is.
I knew it.
I really like that song. I didn't know it was even in Bambi up until a few years ago. Like again, the if I were to take trivia just based on Bambi and I hadn't just watched it, I would do very bad for how big
Really?
of a Disney fan I am.
Yeah.
Like the Little April Showers, whenever it rains, I have that in my head. That's my mouse water
Yeah.
moment. Is I'm like
Mouse
it
water.
is
Sounds like
so
watershed moment.
consistent,
Yeah,
so
it's
consistent.
true.
So yeah, whenever it rains, I think about that song, that and Not in Nottingham, Robin
Yeah,
Hood.
Nine Nottingham's a great one.
It
That'll
depends
be
on the
coming up.
mood, you know. If I'm in a bad mood, it's
Yeah,
Not in Nottingham.
of course. April Showers is a positive rain
Yep.
song.
But the song at the beginning, at the very beginning of the movie,
Mhm.
is all about love and it's used vocals as well. There's two songs that have vocals in this movie
Yeah,
that I would not be able to
never.
recognize if it
Completely
was
agree.
played and said what Disney movie it's from, and
No.
that grinds my gears
Yeah.
as someone who loves Disney music. I'm like, I'm
Yeah, you're a
watching
bit
it
of an aficionado.
knowing this is gonna kill me in 3 years when I'm at some trivia and it plays. Like I will not be able to get over this. So
Totally.
this movie is just a blind spot for me, and unfortunately, I think it will be in a month from now as
Yeah,
well.
that's the thing. I think it's just people forget about this movie and they forget the fact that they've forgotten it, if that makes sense. You think you know everything you need to know because you can remember the mom dying. And there's more to this movie, but you feel like, oh no, I've got Bambi down. Just because like your brain tricks you, I think.
Yeah.
Um, okay, shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about my main takeaway from this movie. And I think we've discussed it before in the past, but I have to bring it up right now. It's just the idea when you watch this movie, and especially the beginning, where every single animal in the entire forest is,
Oh my gosh, the young prince has been born. The prince, the prince.
this is one of the most deer positive propaganda movies. There's a movie that I think of called Paris Je t'aime, or Paris Je t'aime. It's a movie where they gave a bunch of different directors, money or whatever, and said, go out and make a love story movie in Paris.
Mm.
This is like if you gave a couple mil to a group of deer and were like, make your story. And this is a movie that looks like it's written, acted, and directed by deer. This is a deer celebration, and it's just the funniest thing. Like are deer even regarded as the prince of the forest? Like they're making it seem like the world revolves around him. Oh, the young prince has been born. It's like no one cares about that. Like there's nothing even with teeth in this movie yet. You come up across a bear. Let's see. I just couldn't believe it, man.
I'm
Deer propaganda.
I'm all in though on the deer
You
propaganda.
buy in.
Oh
No
yeah,
way,
completely.
dude.
I mean, if I had antlers, I'd rock them.
Oh, if you had antlers, you'd be the coolest according to this movie.
Yeah, I
The bigger, the
really
better.
it is funny looking at it through that lens because it is so deer centric. Like
Oh my gosh.
everything bounces
Yes.
their way in this, and like just the way that they're perceived. And I wonder if it's like the math club in high school, like if they made their
Yeah.
version of what high
Yeah.
school was like, and
Yes.
like all the
That
jocks are like,
is
who the
so
hell are
good.
these kids? This is not how the lunchroom goes
That
at
is
all.
perfect. And
You
they're
don't
just
have
like
to
the
do
coolest.
math before you get your lunch every day, and that they're the fastest ones, so they get to
That's
eat.
perfect. There's so many moments where it's apparent. There's like quotes where I could just imagine a full theater of deer just like clapping their hooves. There's a moment where she's like, out there, the meadow is wide and open, and there are no trees to protect us. And it just sounds like it's supposed to be a really like meaningful quote. And I could see all the deer in their seats just being like, oh shit, dude. She's right. Don't go out there. Don't go out there. And the other one's
Yeah.
like, move your antlers. I don't know, man. Really funny to me.
Men in the back.
Yeah. I could see them all having shirts that just say like "man was in the forest" or something with like a big portrait of it on fire or something. People like, oh shit, you saw Bambi, dude?
I survived.
Yeah, I survived. That's funny. The animation in this movie I thought was pretty cool. There was a point specifically in this where, and I never had even noticed it before as a child. It could be something you missed, growing up. But there's a scene where like it's all the reflection in the river. It's like very autumnal, you could say, and it's a reflection of like leaves hitting, and you see all the deer walking through. And there was parts of it where I was like, "This is beautiful," but in the same way that you feel, oh, Fantasia's cool. You know what I mean? Like it was
Mm.
so this chapter was all that way in my opinion.
Wow. Uh, yes, it is a bit slower. There's some slapstick humor,
A
but
bit,
yeah,
yeah,
you
with
really
Thumper.
have to sink your teeth into the beauty of the animation
That's true.
because yeah, if you're focused on like the character or story and where
Yeah,
it's going, it's
yeah,
gonna drive you a little bit nuts.
yeah.
As you mentioned, all the critters are coming to celebrate the birth of the prince,
To worship.
Bambi.
Yeah.
Does that remind you of anything? Any other
Oh,
Disney movie?
yeah. Let me think. Sleeping Bee.
Yes,
That's
that
a good
is
one.
one. The other one, or the correct answer, no,
Oh,
because that is a correct answer,
thank you. I
is
was gonna say,
Lion
there's no
King.
way with. Oh yeah, of course. That one's
I mean,
with everything.
that
Exactly right.
that was like the theme as I watched this is, oh
Mm.
my gosh, there is so much
This is if
Lion King in
Deer
Bambi.
could do a Lion King. Like,
Yeah, what's this with lions? I've never even seen one. Deer should be the kings of the forest.
You're damn right. You're
dude,
damn right. Yeah.
speaking of King of the Forest, let's talk for a second before we move on about the Great Prince, the man himself. What was your thought when he came out? Because I remember as a kid that scene where he pops out of the forest and just he starts like stepping real slow, and everyone's
Yeah.
just like, I thought he was the biggest badass in the world, and now I'm just like, you are an absent father, and you're not. You've lived like a year or two longer than everyone else. What's so great about you?
What? No, 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 no. He's a good dad. He comes around. All right. He wasn't there in the
When the
beginning.
mom dies, doesn't even acknowledge the mom when he comes out here. And let me just say, this mom in this movie, R.I.P. But she's like the greatest. She's
Oh
one
yeah,
to
she
this point.
is.
She's my favorite Disney mom. I would take her over my own mother at this point.
Favorite Disney mom. God, that is an
I'm
episode.
saying up to now,
But
up
yeah,
to now.
yeah.
There's
Yep.
no one better. She's just got that voice. She's so calm. She's so kind. She's regal, which is I understand why they cast her in the Deer studio. But the dad, like, just he walks out there, doesn't even he looks at Bambi one time and then doesn't even say like, "What's up?" Remember when we had a kid?
Yeah. Well, and Fantasia went so far in this realm of not needing any words from the main characters or the animals to
Yeah.
depict what was occurring. But I still think it's, even though it wasn't groundbreaking in this movie, it is awesome how much they depict with how few of words. And in that scene with the introduction of the Great Prince of the Forest, it's really cool how he just steps out and you can just see based on all the deer reactions, like the amount of respect,
Mm.
the communication that they have. Realistically, what if you and I went to the forest and saw a deer interact, it would look exactly like that
That's true.
70 years
That's
later.
true. I mean, they
Deer
kind of
haven't
like
evolved much, is what we're learning.
Yeah. I mean, if it was really a deer movie, they should have had one get like hit by a car that shouldn't have, like, it should have jumped in front of one when you see it and it's
The
looking
new
at you
man.
like, I'm gonna go right. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna go right. I mean left. Haha. Like deer, you know. Let's portray them accurately. Before we move on, though, I do want to give you a little trivia question.
Yeah, bring it.
And it's not one that I expect you to know, but it's interesting. How long do you think the average lifespan for a deer is?
First of all, I just said that Bambi's going to kill me with trivia, and then you ask a
Yeah,
question,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I
But this is
find
deer trivia. This is
dark.
totally different.
It's still, I'm going to go 17.
17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. The average lifespan of a wild deer is 4.5 years.
Mm.
And if we broke it down by sex, apparently it's 2.9 for a buck and 6.5 for a doe,
Wow.
which means that the
Shout out
Great
to
Prince of the
hunters.
Forest might be 3 years old. So let's move on to the winter time. After I've just demolished your hero real quick. So
We'll bounce back.
I am sure you will.
We're not
That's
done.
someone who's truly brainwashed by the old deer prop.
Oh, yeah.
So winter falls on the forest, you know, and you see Thumper and Bambi playing around in the ice and flowers hibernating. Winter looks really rough. It's, you know, portrayed as a terrible time. It looks like they're eating like wet leather off of trees until Bambi and his mother find the, you know, forbidden first patch of grass in spring. And then there's the infamous scene, the one we're all waiting for, where the mom, quick the thicket, and then gets capped by a hunter. So the thing about this scene, the mom gets killed, Bambi's on his own, the dad comes in, which, you know,
What does he do? He comes back.
Yeah, he comes back,
Saves the day.
gives him the old, your mom won't be with you anymore. And I'll
She
stop
never
it there.
loved you. Come on.
Not even like your mom's dead. More just like, yeah, she bailed, dude. I'm not so bad, am I?
Oh, look who comes crawling back.
Oh, no mom now, huh? Yeah, get out of here. Here's my question to you.
Go get me a beer.
It's a personal one. Go get me a deer beer.
All right.
Give me one of those Dambies from the fridge. Is this your favorite chapter because of the snow? Or is it too tampened by, which is not a word, but is it tampened by the death of the mother so you can't enjoy it?
Yeah, you know I love snow
I know.
in
That's why
Disney
I'm asking.
movies.
It's your favorite thing.
I do really enjoy this. It's too sad on the mom side of things, but I do think that they did a better job than they should have with this being the 5th movie to have a death like this and be able to help move the audience past it relatively quickly.
Oh, like
But-
jarringly quick. What are you
Well,
talking about?
well, yeah, we're talking at that point. But even like when Bambi's looking for his mom,
All right.
and the Great Prince of the Forest comes up and it's snowing and you can barely even see him,
Yeah.
you end up getting pretty calm quickly. And he doesn't sugarcoat it at all.
No.
And he's just like, come on, we're going. And the scene ends. It's pretty amazing how sad you can be at one moment, and then 10, 15 seconds later, you're comforted by the Great Prince of the Forest, best dad
That's true.
ever.
That's
And then, but then
Number
even
one.
more than that, it is such a quick scene into chapter 3, like too abrupt. Actually, I think they should have waited another
incredibly
second.
abrupt.
But it jumps into
Birds
all the birds
chirping
chirping
and-
about springtime. It's a roller coaster of emotion, but as an adult, I was surprised I wasn't more sad, or at
Yeah.
least like it didn't stay with me for as long as I thought it would.
Well, I don't have too much to say about it because honestly, it's pretty cut and dry. The mother of this film dies, and that's just rough. But the thing that was surprising to me, as for as traumatic as it was when I was a child, you don't actually see her get shot or die. You
No.
hear a shot, and then it's inferred that she's dead. She could not be dead because Bambi gets shot in the end of this movie and lives. But it's like the dad just was battling for custody and saw his opportunity and took it. I just felt like it was surprising to me that you never actually see it. Another one thing I want to talk about from this chapter, this is one of the first times in a long time that I've ever really critically thought about hibernation and what a weird thing that is. Can you imagine just going to sleep for like a season? Animals do that. Bears, I guess
Yeah.
skunks. Like, I never stopped to think about that, but what the hell? It's like,
Yeah.
no. Can they wake up? Like, how do you go to sleep that long?
Yeah.
Can you
I wonder what
imagine being
their
able
out of
to
the
hibernate?
office looks like.
Oh yeah, be back in like 6 months. Sorry,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Reach out to the
inside.
support
You
team.
can see me. Yeah,
I'm not gonna be
I'm
here.
not gonna be around. I'll probably wake up, but just to like pee. How do they
Please
not
hold
pee?
all rent.
I don't know. Really interesting. Why don't
Yeah.
you take us?
Yeah.
Take
No,
us,
no, those are all really good hibernation questions. I don't have the answers, but I want to learn
dude.
more.
I have all. And,
Like, yeah,
everyone
do
who
you
knows
go
me,
to the bathroom?
those that know me would all agree. I've always had.
It's
really
like,
good
did you
hibernation
ever watch
questions.
Gargoyles as a kid, the TV
No,
show?
I wasn't allowed.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You'll get
Well,
over it.
of course, when the sun comes up, they freeze into stone.
Yeah.
And so it takes a day, but they have to make sure that they're in a safe place or a human can just smash them to
Oh
bits.
yeah.
It's the same thing, but for like 6 months. You got to find a good hiding place. I mean, you would
So
go
weird.
insane trying to plan that
This
for
is not good enough. This is not good enough.
Yeah,
There's a huge
exactly.
opening. What if it's some
Yeah,
other thing
exactly.
came in?
Ah, it's too cold. Nah, she's already asleep.
Dude, I would
You're
never be able to pick a hibernation spot. I didn't even think about
I
that
can't
one.
even order something on Amazon without doing like
bunch
5
of
different tabs
research,
open,
yeah.
looking at research.
They've
let
got
alone-
rating systems. 4 out of 5 stars for this hibernation spot. It was good, a little drafty, and there's not
Yeah,
as much
I
stuff
would
once you
read
wake
every
up.
review of
Yeah.
every hibernation spot.
Oh man, why don't you take us to chapter 3?
How could Disney do this back-to-back movies with Dumbo and Bambi?
Yeah, they hate moms. Maybe Walt had mom issues.
I
Ever
don't
think
think
about
it's that they hate them. It's just the world is at war at this
Yeah,
point, Walt.
yeah.
And the 2 movies that you decided to put out are like 2 of the top 5 still the saddest Disney movies ever created.
That's so weird. It's a
It's
good
like you think
point.
parents were just going through these like,
Oh yeah, we just
you
need to be
know,
cheered
yeah,
up. And
my husband's
kids,
at war, my kid's crying over here. Like, can we just go and enjoy a calm,
No
soothing
kidding.
movie for
Oh
once?
my gosh, it's so true. It's a terrible time for this kind of a heartache.
God, it's
Wild.
just brutal.
Mhm.
So yeah, the last chapter, quick jump from Bambi's mom dying to
Very
the
quick.
springtime. The owl talks all about being a Twitter pated.
Twitter pated.
Twitter pated.
Did you
I
watch
know,
the
I
movie?
know. Yeah, yes, I watched it.
All right,
Okay, but don't quiz me
aristocrats.
on it because I'll get anxiety. So, but yeah, let's hear more about what deer are doing and how long hibernation is and what they do when they pee during hibernation.
Or do they?
Yep. So all of them, Flower, Thumper, Bambi, they all fall in love in different ways. It's a really cute scene. And then Bambi has to fight off another deer randomly for Feleen.
Very randomly, actually.
Yeah. And then they go to bed together and he wakes up. No, Harrison, don't
Hell
think
yeah,
like that.
dude.
He
How
wakes
can you
up
not?
and gets some sense that there's man in the forest again,
Halt
and
in the hallway, we can say.
exactly, and fire occurs, and really all the animals are panicking, trying to get away at this point, and the movie wraps up. Bambi actually gets shot as well
Yeah,
in this
what the
scene.
hell?
I
did
know, I
not
know.
remember that.
So much to get into there. But and then the ending, everything is eventually safe and well, and really have a circle of life moment as Bambi and Feline end up having their child, and that's how the movie ends. So, a couple questions I got. Some of it might be rapid fire.
Hit me.
If you surveyed big Disney fans, people who would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm all about that." And you said you can make it really easy and just say yes or no. Was Bambi shot in Bambi?
Dude,
How many? What?
less than 10% would get it correct.
Okay. And then if you really wanted to grill it, who does get shot in Bambi? Who are all the
Less
characters?
than 2%.
No one is going to
Absolutely
single
not.
out. It is so. I watched this a couple years ago, and I still am like, was that Bambi or was that another random deer? He gets up. It surprises me every time I've
He
seen this movie.
swims across the entire like fjord to get to this island with like a bullet in him. Like, and you don't even really know where he's been shot, but like, there's not many places in a deer you can get shot. You're like, it'll probably be nothing.
Yeah.
What? What? But I mean, you're bringing up what's going to be my favorite point of this whole podcast, so we might as well get into it. You're saying who all gets shot, and I know you're referring to the quail, dude. The one person that gets shot that deserves an hour worth of talking
Yeah.
is the quail.
So I thought it was a quail too. Technically, pheasant.
Oh shit! I wouldn't know that, duid.
I know.
I'm
I
not
don't
a hunter.
know. I don't know birds as well. Yeah, exactly. Let's make that clear up front.
Yeah.
Um,
We're gonna have to do a disclaimer at the beginning.
yeah. So yeah, the pheasant scene.
Just
If you
break it
haven't,
down. Tell me. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, tell people what this scene.
yeah. Okay. So the pheasant scene is
Besides the craziest scene in Disney history.
so the fire is occurring. All the animals. There's like panicky music
Yeah.
as man is coming.
A lot of
And
strings.
they show this random family of pheasants that you've never met before. And one of the pheasants is having a complete
Mental
breakdown,
breakdown. Yeah.
trying to escape. The quotes are, he's coming closer. And then the other ones are saying, stay calm, don't get excited. We better fly. Don't fly. He's almost here. I can't stand it any longer. No. And she flies away and gets
so
shot, and her body lands on the ground.
Oh my god.
And they cut away.
Have
it
you
is-
ever
it's
seen
a
more panic?
12-second scene of a complete panic attack of one random pheasant. It is one of the most odd scenes in any Disney movie. I strongly recommend going.
If there's one
going
thing
to
you
watch
take
it.
from this whole
It's
episode,
bizarre.
go look at that. It's just the most maniacal thing I've ever. I did not remember it at all, and no one would be able to call that out. Be like, oh yeah, quail, Bambi, and the mom. They all get shot. Dude,
Yeah.
no chance. But that is the only thing I'm going to remember from this movie forever. I know for a fact I'll remember that forever.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
amazing. That is amazing.
Exactly. On like Disney Wikipedia, they have their own Wikipedia.
Yeah.
The pheasant has
Wikipedia.
a screen as well. Wikipedia. Oh god.
No, that's
We
probably
gotta-
not it.
We
but-
gotta grow up.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let's grow up and get back to the Disney podcast.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we're sitting on Neverland for a while. So, yeah, the pheasant has her own screen, which is hilarious. It's just a picture of her panicking,
No.
the quote that she says, and a quick description of this 12-second scene. But it like has enough allure that she has
It
her
deserves
own.
it. It does
Yeah,
deserve
exactly. It's so crazy.
Whew. All right, let's shift gears because I could talk about that forever.
Yeah.
If you were so this, I want to get into a little dating with Disney here because Feleen is in this, and she's magical. She's the most alluring deer you've ever seen. Really, she's just, and this is kind of typical of Disney, I realize, and I feel kind of played, but it looks like Bambi with eyelashes. But she's hot in her own way. Beautiful. And my question is, if you were like to take her on a date, where would you take a deer?
I'll tell you where you take a deer. Every night for the last 3 weeks, we've had deer come in our backyard and eat our plants and figs and all that
Someone's
stuff.
garden.
So I would just come to the backyard. It seems like
Yeah.
a great spot. They hang out there at least for a few hours. And
They
yeah,
must like it.
obviously, yeah, a bunch of chumps live there and can't stop them. So yeah,
That's
they just
true.
have a great time here. So
Just running the
they
the
just,
garden.
yeah, come on over.
My answer to this was either Australia, because for some reason I think the idea of deer and kangaroo getting along would be really cool. I think that'd be interesting for her. But secondly, I think I'd actually go on a little bit more of a double date. This is a
Hmm.
call forward. We haven't gotten to it yet, but I know enough about it. Uh, the Fox and the Hound, Todd and his girl. I don't remember her name, but I think she'd love to
Dixie.
go to that. Vixie. That's how could I forget? Vixie. I think she would get along really well with those other animals in the other forest.
Yeah.
Although I do have a little bit of a moment in conspiracy corner here. Who's to
Hmm.
say this isn't the same forest and it isn't the same hunter in Fox and the Hound that
Yeah.
kills Bambi's mom?
Amos.
Maybe even the same hunting trip with Copper.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I remembered Man having a better shot in
Oh
this. And I
yeah.
know he has a terrible shot in Fox and the Hound, like really,
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's a
true.
lot more bullets that are fired
So
in
many.
Bambi and not that many kill shots, as they say. So
Dude, it's like 3 of 20. Are you kidding me?
yeah,
He misses everything, but can
yeah,
hit
which
like,
Amos does as well.
yeah,
So
that's what
I
I'm
actually
saying.
do think that there's
There's
a
something
shot
there.
there. There,
I love
it's
that.
not even that far of a stretch, I don't think.
I love that.
It
I
feels
love
like
it.
the same force as well.
That's what I'm saying, especially where they go up into the mountains where that bear gets them in the Fox and the Hound. I really think it's possible.
Yeah,
Okay, let's
it'd
talk
be a great
about.
double date too.
That's what I'm. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jay. Let's do a podcast, man. Um, the Twitter pated scene. I wanted to talk about that before we finish it off, and obviously the end. But the Twitter pated scene is one of the ones that I remember from this movie more than everything else. I
Mm.
use the word Twitter pated in real life. I think it's a perfect word. To me, I feel like Owl is just kind of a dick. And I'm honestly convinced that, and I never thought this before, but I'm 100% sure that Flower is a gay man. The way that Flower is into Bambi at the end, especially at the end, where he names his child after him, they've met like twice. The whole thing is strange with how long they've known each other and the relationship they have. Like after hibernation season, they have to like reintroduce each other like they're, elementary school friends that met again in college. And it's been like a month or 2 months. Like, hey, remember me? It's like, are you Thumper? It's like, yeah, dude, I saw you like 12 days ago. You just grown because you're a rabbit and I'm a deer. Like, whatever, man.
Hmm. One thing I didn't like about the three of them growing up, it felt like they were all voiced by like guys that be at the bar together.
Yeah,
It
that's
like
so
didn't really
true.
match up well
No.
with what you just saw the scene before with the three of them being kids.
Yeah.
Even Bambi's voice,
Mm,
I love adult Bambi. I do not want that to get lost, and I think this last chapter is so underrated.
yeah,
I think
I do
it's
too.
really strong, and I never remember it.
Well,
But that's the reason why I really enjoyed this movie. It's like
mm,
two-thirds of it, it's pretty bland for the
it's just
most
a lot
part.
of
But
walking
man, the
around.
last 10, 15 minutes are so
I hate.
exciting, and it really shows a lot of the potential of where these Disney movies continue to go. Like they hit that mark that they try to recreate that in Disney movies today. And
That's true.
that's the first time I've seen it in the five movies we've done so far.
Yeah, I agree. I actually, the call out to Bambi, I really would like to do a segment called Harrison's Heroes to celebrate that deer. The transformation you see from the beginning where you're annoyed with him to the end. I mean, he isn't mean to Feleen when he meets her. Although let's just pause for a moment. Do you think that he had PTSD because the moment that he met her as a child and he was sat in that puddle and she was going around all the things, which used to really annoy me, or
Mhm.
she used to really annoy me. And then the first thing that happens when he meets her as an adult is he falls back and sits back into that water. He's just like every time with this girl, that's what's happening to me. But he's not mean to her. They have a nice, sweet romance. He battles like a pack of dogs and pretty much becomes like steps into his lead role as like the new Prince of the Forest within a very short period of time. That transformation I think is legendary. And Bambi is really undersold as a hero in Disney lore. And I think that it deserves a moment to be said that Bambi was the man. Would you agree or disagree?
100%, because it's like if everyone remembers Bambi as a kid, and
That's so true.
if It's like if Dumbo grew up to be this huge elephant and just like stomp through
Ruined the
the
circus or something.
circus. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it is such a bizarre turn in the last 10, 15 minutes for this character. And it will never be what's remembered
mm,
of Bambi, but it really should. And
weird.
I think people would really like this movie a lot more if once you get through Bambi's mom dying, that's the best part of the whole
It's
movie by
true.
far.
You know why we forget that is because this movie was made for deer, and I bet you deer don't forget that. If you're a
Mm.
deer and you see that, that's the greatest guy you've ever seen. You're like, dude, ant steps up, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, man, like knocking
Got
antlers and stuff.
shot.
But we're
Yeah.
just like
Yeah,
humans. We're like,
knocking antlers.
it doesn't actually register with us as like he's a badass because he's a deer. And we're just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's just doing deer stuff. He does get his ass kicked by the challenger. I don't know what else to call him, so I've just always referred to him as the challenger, which makes it sound like a WWE name. But um, he gets it handed to him, man. Like the only reason he wins that fight for Feleen is because he had like a lucky advantage next to a hill. But every
Yeah.
single strike of that whole fight, he gets whipped, man. That was
Yeah.
really uncomfortable. I was thinking the whole time watching it because I didn't remember it, but I was like, did he lose this? He might lose, and he didn't. But that's the one
Yeah.
downside to him being a hero.
And it's a funny scene. It also had some familiarity to Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
That's
That
true.
scene, like similar coloring as well.
That's
It's
true.
like if you had that scene and then Scar popped out and Simba and
Yeah,
Scar
I
went
really
at it.
didn't like that
It's
they
a weird
chopped
cut.
that up. So weird, yeah.
Yeah.
And then right after, it's like they go back to being in like a romantic circumstance. It's like it just that weird like intermission.
It almost seemed like it was in his head. Like it was a fantasy of his.
Whoa,
I, it
conspiracy corner. Let's
it
get it.
wasn't. It
I know,
wasn't,
but
but
it
that's
could have.
almost how it's
The,
like depicted.
the lighting changes enough to where it's almost not even
It's weird.
real. It seems
It's a
dreamlike.
little Fantasia, to be
Little
honest.
Fantasia, that's true. Oh,
Yeah.
which you know what? Every Disney movie could use a little Fantasia.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say, or can we move on to our favorites?
Just the amount of similarities to Lion King, especially in this last one. When the
Hmm,
dogs come up and Bambi's fighting off
true.
the dogs, it is so similar to Simba fighting off the hyenas.
And even him and the Challenger's fight looks a lot like the Scar, and I mean it's definitely
Yeah.
beefed up in Lion
Yes.
King, but it like a lot of their posturing is similar. It's true.
Yeah, the fire at the end as
Hmm.
well. And the
Yeah, that's
very
true.
last scene is Bambi essentially on Pride Rock, looking
Yeah.
down at the rest. It is, and when the animators were making Lion King, it was the original story, and when people would shorthand try to describe what it was, they said it's like Bambi in Africa.
Oh, that's a great way to
So
put it. It's true. That is
yeah,
true.
sampled at most. It's all respect for both movies, but it is interesting some of
I'll
the
go ahead and say more respect to Lion King.
of
100%.
course,
I'm fine with
yeah,
saying that.
come on,
I'll put myself out there like that.
yeah, yeah. Trust me, I'm Team Lion
But
King.
more respect to Donnie
Going
D,
at it.
dude. I still respect the hell out of that guy. What
Yeah,
was your favorite song? There wasn't a lot of songs in this, but there was
little
enough.
April showers.
Really? You would. I actually went with one that I had to look up the name, and the reason I was looking for the credits. It's called I Bring You a Song, and it's the song that happens after the challenger and his fight, and
Yep.
it's kind of a crooning. I don't know. It was really nice, though, and I could imagine liking it a lot more out of this movie than I liked it in there.
If it played, would you know which Disney movie?
Now I
It
would.
sound
Now I would.
it
But
sounds like
no,
such a
never
generic
before.
Disney movie
Oh, I
though.
would never have noticed it.
Disney movie song.
We should develop some Disney trivia of shit like that where it just there's no
God, no one
chance
would
you
get
get
this
it. No
stuff.
way. Who's your favorite character?
Adult Bambi.
Adult Bambi, of
I
course.
gotta
I
make
mean,
that clear
yeah.
distinction.
Baby Bambi, dude. Bambi. Uh, I gotta go with Thumper. I've always had an affinity for Thumper. I really like his style, man. He's just a happy-go-lucky guy. He's got a good spirit.
He's really funny. As a
Yeah.
kid, I thought
All
Thumper was
I thought he was the
hilarious.
man.
He
Yeah,
was
that
like,
is mostly the reason. I wonder
what's
if I
the
only
line? He's
saw it now.
like, "Did you fall down?"
That's actually pretty good.
It's like, yeah, I think Thumper's hilarious.
He's the man. Yeah, so it's got to be Thumper for me. What was your favorite scene?
I don't know how to break it down, but if I had to pick 2 minutes, it'd be the very last 2 minutes of just the whole circle of life thing. But if we can do a longer section, it's just the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Why didn't they have his dad die? Because he's supposedly like we feel like he's taking over the forest, but his dad's still there. The only thing that difference is his dad walks away, which is like pretty much his survival strategy. He's lived so long because he doesn't mess around the meadow. He just doesn't stay out in the open. So
no, that's for chumps.
he's just walking back into the forest. I'm like, oh, Bambi's the king.
Yeah.
Now. He's not. The king is still the king.
Walt's daughter was really upset actually that Bambi's mom died, and his point was like, well, it was in the book.
I was Walt's daughter, dude.
And she said, yeah, well, you've changed other parts of stories as well. Like, why would you? There was like real pushback on Bambi's
Family
mom
pushback.
dying and the belief that it wasn't needed. And you can make the argument Bambi's mom could have lived and the prince died.
It just
and
would have
he
been a
had to step into
cleaner
that
circle
role.
of life thing.
It
I don't know.
is. It is.
My favorite scene's when Bambi meets Feleen again as an adult, and their little romance scene where they're on the clouds and they're jumping from. I was just like, I've been there, dude. Get it?
Yeah.
And I'd love to be there with Feleen, man. I still am into her after all these years. What's your favorite quote? Call it what you want.
Man was in the forest.
Walt was in the
Man,
hall. ...
I really want a t-shirt of that.
That could be a dude. If we ever do like merchandise for ourselves for this podcast, we should.
It would
just
be
the antlers. Mine's one that I actually I feel like I grew up hearing it. Not that I was a mean kid or anything, but it's Thumper. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. I think that sounds to me like an old adage that everyone knows, but then I realized this is where that came from. Holy crap. That's an awesome quote.
Yeah.
So I gotta go with that.
Do we know that's where it came from?
No, but let's go with it.
Well.
Let's give it
But
to
yeah,
it.
let's go with it. All
Okay.
right.
Don't tell us otherwise. Okay, let's move into our playground pick'em. This is a funny one. We have to. So we'll draft for each other. We'll say for a year you have to live with 2 animals that we each pick in your home. So I'll give you the first pick, and we'll see what you come up with. Although I can.
So this is for you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So you pick 2 animals that I have to live with in my home.
100%. It is Flower.
Oh wow!
Because
I thought you were going a different direction.
first of all,
I didn't think about
trust
that.
me,
Really.
skunks smell terrible, and again, we have those as well. We pretty much have the whole Bambi setting in the backyard. We should do an outdoor session sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, they smell so bad, and
It can't come out of stuff either.
no, it can't, and it won't. And yeah, you're just gonna be like in a terrible smelling environment.
You have to. They have to feel like frightened, right? Like I have to imagine I could get to a point with him where I could. But then it's also like you walk around the corner
like
too
every
fast.
night though.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way that they're frightened that much. I think they naturally have a little bit of an odor, and it gets worse over time.
Okay. Can we talk to the animals? Can you hear them? Like, are they roommates? Kind of. Like, can you hear them? Do you want to say yes for the sake of the draft?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm giving you the quail, dude. Because
Oh God! I just walked right into that.
There's just no way any level of anxiety that high being in your house is a positive thing. We're almost out of peanut butter. We have to get something. It just runs out or something.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm going to Costco
I'm going
later
tomorrow.
tonight. What are you talking about?
What if it closes?
Yeah, it's not going to close.
Yeah, it's probably closed already. I've got to go. Okay.
No, you don't. Yeah, such a mess.
I burned our sheets. I thought I saw a bug. Like, what?
I would really have a hard time with her.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd be able to really manage that. If that's how she is nonstop,
we have to assume.
I think this whole thing would end pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, so your pick.
Man, I am in the hole. I was like a
skunk.
Nice, like an
the quail is what I thought.
one,
Yeah,
but geez, the quail is like that's just
the
insulting.
quail who's not even a quail. I love that.
Gosh, I'm gonna say Bambi. It's just living with a deer.
Yeah.
Because a deer, it's not gonna be enjoyable.
Oh
and,
no, a deer being that big, it speaks for itself, man.
Yeah.
You can't have an adult baby like scratching on stuff and whatnot.
It would be scary coming around the corner, just like whoa.
You got those antlers.
The quail's freaking out of it. Yeah, they wouldn't get along.
I'm giving you the owl, dude. I'm giving you friend owl, just because owls are scary in real life. Like They're
Oh yeah, they are.
mean and terrifying,
Are
but
they
he's
mean?
also yes, yeah. Owls will work you over for
Huh.
sure. And they're like they look hateful, but they're just mean.
Archimedes seem pretty nice and Sword in the Stone.
Maybe that's true.
Just
That
saying.
is true. I just think him and the quail having to be in the same place would just be at his
Oh
throat all the time.
man, yeah.
Like just so pissed.
It yeah, you definitely won this.
Okay,
I'd be
good.
so miserable. One, I don't even like birds as well.
Yeah, I know.
So having to live with two birds would not be great, even if they
I
were
love that
freaking,
concept.
Zazu
Bambi
and
characters.
Iago, let alone
Wait,
those
pick
two.
pick one that you'd want to live with. Mine's Feleen, of course. I would really get along with Feleen. Even though she was a deer, I could get around with a big woman like that.
It's Thumper. Come on.
Mm,
How's that even a question? Like people own bunnies.
that's true. That's
That's
not
not
hard.
even a
That's not hard.
stretch.
No, and he's cool
It
too.
has to be.
Okay, would you already kind of said it. Are you of the opinion this is worth a rewatch if you watched this growing up?
Yeah, I really do. And we might disagree on it, but I think if you everyone thinks of the one 30-second scene,
Mm,
but especially after the first two
yeah.
thirds, I know it is a bit of a stretch, but it's all worth it in the last 10, 15 minutes and really leaves you with in a good place.
Yeah, I agree. It does leave off nicely. I think it's worth a rewatch if you watch this and were traumatized by this as a kid, like I was, because there's more that you didn't notice, and the mom dying scene is not as bad as you thought. Is it worth a watch? I would say no. I wouldn't instruct someone you got to go see Bambi because I think it's really hard to make it through that first 45 minutes where it's just Bambi learning the ropes of life and it's just like lots of I mean this podcast doesn't make it sound like the scenes of him in the snow with Thumper are like 10 minutes long or the Twitter paid explanations like 10 minutes long. I like the Twitter paid scene, but it's just examples like
Yeah.
him learning to walk is so long. It's like it's cute, but I just don't think it would be enough. So I'm gonna say not worth a watch, worth a rewatch. What do you say about a watch? Someone who's
Uh,
never seen it,
yeah, I would still say
go for
that
it.
they should watch it. Well, here's what I wonder. We remember the first third of the movie really well.
Mm.
If you've never seen this movie, is it more entertaining? Because you really don't know what's happening. Like we
Yeah,
know
you might be
the
down for the
pathway it's
ride.
going.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm still
Yeah.
gonna stick with. I'm gonna still gonna stick with. You should watch as a
Can you
kid.
imagine
I
not
can.
knowing
I
the
can.
spoiler of
Yeah.
Bambi,
No, I
like
don't
ruin
think you
your
could know.
life?
You probably know. Would you show
I don't
this to
know.
kids? Was it a good thing that we saw this growing up? Is it
Yes.
positive? Did it
Yeah.
build you into something better?
Yeah. You gotta have all this. I wish I would focus more on the last third though,
Yeah, that just
about
shows something
taking a
about
bullet and getting back up.
my
There was a
personality.
lot
Yeah,
of those things I just did not learn. And now I feel like, yeah, if I get shot,
I can
dub
pull a
dub
Bambi.
dub. Yeah.
Let's give a toast to this movie, Jay.
Yeah.
I'll let
To
you go
the
first.
most underrated last chapter of any Disney movie.
Mm. I'm gonna say I wrote a little rhyme. To our friends in the forest, both small and large, all will be well with Bambi in charge. Cheers.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end. That was Bambi. Jay, what do we have next?
We got Ichabod and Mr.
Oh
Toad,
man, what a weird one. Not
1949.
not on the marquee, but definitely the opening act for a lot to come. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next time for the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Is Brombones, do you think he was the headless horseman in disguise? Or is the headless horseman real or the spirit of it?
See,